Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book It Vince, the Wrestling Dream Match podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Martin Bennett, and with me, as always, is the Demon of the Deep, Anthony Hall.
Oh, fuck. Who could possibly be the Demon of the Deep?
This is a deep cut. Maybe our special guest knows who this is, but we'll see about that. Do you have any idea, Anthony?
It is.
I will say it's the first nickname of a very famous wrestler.
Ooh, I have no clue. I was just gonna shoot the shit and say that it was Aquaman, but obviously
no. Sadly, I don't think that they're a wrestler. Maybe one day. But yeah, we got a really fun episode for everybody today, and I'm gonna throw it to you, Anthony, to introduce our special guest.
All right, with us is our esteemed guest, wrestler, creator of Greektown Wrestling. He's been featured all across the globe wrestling in matches, and he's also been in Dark Side of the Ring. The White Bronco, hardcore Channing Decker.
What's going on, guys? Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
What's up? Thank you so much for joining us for this in your busy schedule. And we're excited today to talk about not only a dream match of yours, but also the upcoming show for Greektown Wrestling, and maybe get some insight, because every other week we book dream matches here on this podcast, and we're just fans. We're just enjoying coming up with fun concepts for dream matches and fantasy bookings, but you're actually a real booker, and we'd love to ask you some questions about what it's like being an actual wrestling booker. But before that, Channing, do you know who the nickname that I was talking about that I gave Anthony at the beginning of the episode, the Demon of the Deep?
You wouldn't let me off the hook. Yeah, you had to give me the cork ball right off the hop. The Demon of the Deep. No, why don't you let us know who it is?
Do you know who Leviathan is?
Yes and no. Is this like Rob? What's his name?
That's Batista's first wrestling name.
Oh, right.
When he was in FCW.
OVW.
OVW, yeah. When he was in OVW, and he was called Leviathan, and then he was changed to Batista, and his nickname when he was Leviathan was Demon of the Deep.
The deep cut indeed. Starting off with the Leviathan trivia.
Hey. Sometimes I like to give Anthony really easy ones, and sometimes trip him up completely. But that's what we do.
The last episode
I should have got, though.
Yeah. The last episode we recorded, I almost didn't get Becky Lynch's nickname because I am so sporadically tuned into WWE and main roster wrestling. So today was a bit of a curveball, and as usual, I didn't get it.
Hey, great hitters hit 1 out of every 3. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But today we have Channing here, and we're just excited because this weekend, Greektown Wrestling here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, is putting on is it the first big show of this year?
Well, this is the first show. I mean, you mean it for the whole scene, or is this for Greektown, you mean?
I guess I don't know if there's really been anything in Toronto recently, since I know that this show specifically got delayed.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, Greektown, it's been 2 years. March 2020 was the last show we actually got to run. I say we, but I do mean I. And tried to get a nice run up for the December date. And then, of course, COVID reemerged and put a damper on that parade. And so now it's over 2 years getting back to running a show. And of course, now it's also the biggest one yet for Greektown Wrestling, you know what I mean? Moving up from the Danforth to Ryerson University.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty jam-packed show, and we can't just go over the fact that you're going to be facing Rob Van Dam, which that's pretty insane. Talk about, you don't have to go into the details and stuff, but what does that mean for you? Like being able to face a hardcore legend, being, a big fan of the hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, I think legend's the word. I mean, you don't need just to add hardcore in front of it. Rob is about as big a wrestling
Yeah.
star as it possibly gets. I mean, yeah, I think coming up, just seeing Rob's creativity and how innovative he was, and just that cool factor about, kind of the way Rob carried himself. I mean, he was very appealing to me as a young fan, and definitely inspired a lot of the way that, I try to rethink and develop my own style in the ring. And so to see him at his age now, which is, no spring chicken anymore, but in the absolute best shape, some of the best shape of his life. The guy looks phenomenal. Still inspiring, to see a guy who been through that extreme style for so many years, and to have that athleticism and to take the bumps that he has, and to still show up and be a pro and really be one hell of a draw. I mean, you see yourself, the way people are talking about, Rob Van Dam's coming to Toronto. It's he doesn't do a lot of bookings. When he does, it means something. And man, people are in for a great show on April 10th.
That's exciting. That's really exciting.
Channing, I'm wondering what goes into building a card like the one that we're about to see this weekend when it comes to booking such amazing wrestlers from all different promotions. What are different things that you take into consideration when you're building this card?
I mean, for me, it began with trying to differentiate the show from other promotions. So whether that means just simply featuring other wrestlers that aren't featured on other shows at the time, even in the city, just Toronto in general. So for me, hitting the road early in my career, I got to meet a lot of different talent from all over the US and across Canada. And so basically I tried to find talent that was underutilized, underappreciated, and bring some light to shine on them and have them come to Greektown and to create a total kind of diverse and unique group. So that's where you get from Sonny Kiss to Jock Sampson to Space Monkey to RJ City to Channing Decker, and from deathmatch to comedy style wrestling, you get a little bit of everything. So for me, I think from that answer right there, you kind of see it's like when I watch wrestling, I like a little bit of everything. I don't want to watch necessarily 8 death matches in a row. Even if I like expressing myself or competing in that environment, I like tag team wrestling. I like women's wrestling. I like, gimmick matches. I like comedy style wrestling. I like legends. I like to be thrilled. I like the live aspect. So for me, you talk about what goes into the selection process. Number one is live entertainment value. Some people are really over on the internet, but can be pretty entitled. And I find, don't necessarily have great experience working, quote unquote, the crowd, really revving that live audience up. And for me, that's wrestling. You know what I mean? It's not only Twitter. It can't be only Twitter. And in fact, I think it's actually probably the voice of Twitter wrestling fans are almost even overrepresented at times. I think a lot of the times you find who's in the stands. It's families. It's fathers bringing their children. It's groups of friends who have watched their whole lives who are going to show up almost no matter what. Now, how do we get more people in the door at a Greektown wrestling show, at an indie wrestling show? I think things like Ryerson University, bringing it downtown with the legitimacy that Ryerson brings, and to, be able to work with a star like Rob, it lets that light shine on the other wrestlers on the card too, which is what it's about. So try to bring everybody up, try to make sure that everybody's in a spot on the card that is advancing their careers, is advancing their character on the show, and bring a real diverse palette for the fans, basically.
Now, as a job, as booker and as planning a show and everything, how involved are you in the different matches that are on the card other than planning who's going to be there? Do you specifically say, like, I want to see you face this person? Is it based on availability? And also, do you get involved in like what's going to happen in the matches?
Yeah. I mean, so the short answer would be that if you book the right people, you shouldn't have to micromanage them. With that said, in a macro answer, I am making very close decisions with who's taking on who. I mean, that's such an important part of, chemistry is everything, and drawing factor on who's getting to work with who. And a lot of that works with, you want to bring a name in, not to just work with another name, but also to work with a younger talent so that it kind of gets them more over with the audience too. I I don't like to put too many leashes on the horses, and so such a way of speaking. So, I might give people certain cues, or if we're going to go in certain directions, things like that. But you know what I mean? If I bring in whomever it is, it's because they know exactly what the hell they're doing. So I'm going to give them certain parameters and let them be the artist and the performer that they need to be.
That's excellent. That's honestly something that's really refreshing to hear, of like that wrestlers, especially now and seeing more on the indie scene, having that control over their character, because they have to live it for real life and they have to be it entirely in the ring. And it's that relationship between the audience and the wrestler that, like, if they're not genuine, then the audience won't pick it up and won't be down with it. And so it's really cool that you know that, like, there are people that you can definitely trust who will deliver on that. And if they need a bit more experience, it's like to just help guide them. It was really cool.
I think maybe guidance is a good word. Maybe, I guess you could say kind of lead them to waters that let them be the best version of themselves. I think, you look at probably producers with music or any sort of, relationship where there's very close with kind of coach or trainee or student or athlete, whatever it is. You just want to make sure that the person feels comfortable to be their best version of themselves. You know what I mean? Nobody can really be at their best when they're tense, when they're thinking about some personal shit that's going on in the locker room or any sort of nonsense that can go into pro wrestling. So, it's not a free for all. I don't think, not every idea is a great idea, but I definitely like working with people who have ideas. And that goes a long way. There's not a lot of room for people who are closed-minded. I think in wrestling, you got to be resilient and creative endlessly. So it takes a certain type of person to succeed, for sure.
I have another booking-related question that might be more specific to a booking and independent promotion. How do you take into account long-term booking and storylines when often from month to month, you never know if a person you are depending on is going to get booked somewhere else, is going to get a different opportunity? What are some of the things that you have to sort of adjust on the fly when you're thinking of storylines or trying to carry stories forward to other shows?
Yeah, I think you got to be flexible. So it's, you don't want to snooker yourself in such a way where, hey, if this one person isn't at the very next show, then there's no show. The whole thing falls flat. But, I talked a bit about it in the last answer, not putting too many parameters on the, too many leashes on the horses. So yes, there's going to be some, directions going on, but especially, even just at the independent level, even just to have a reoccurring group of wrestlers is almost a nuanced idea. You're going to have some local people, but a lot of different revolving doors through a lot of different promotions. So even just to have like a half dozen plus 10 guys that are there every show since the inception of the show, and to honor that each time they come back, that what they did mattered and it grows in. And so for me, creatively, rather than commit to a final goal, I know what direction we're heading, and then I'm going to use the best pieces I can available to me at that time to cross certain bridges that I have to. So, don't snooker yourself, don't overcommit, and then be open-minded to different ways things can end up.
Now,
awesome.
With your match that's coming up on Sunday, you're facing, again, we talked about a legend. Is this something that you've had as a dream match for a long time? With the podcast being about dream matches, has this been a dream match that you've had for a long time, and are there other ones that you think could have potential that we could see in the future?
I think for me, this one honestly was almost in the category of surreal. It wasn't, who wouldn't want to wrestle Rob Van Dam? I mean, for me specifically, with the skill set that I possess, there are the similarities there with Rob and I think it does lend itself for what will be a very hard-hitting and creative encounter. Rob is about as big as it gets. I mean, even from a legendary status, there's not many that are in his shape still with his status, fresh off the Hall of Fame, still in top shape, still motivated emotionally, ready to go. You know what I mean? It's a unique situation. Talk about dream matches and fantasy booking. I mean, there's really only a crew of people, might be around that, whether it be like a Jeff Hardy or a John Moxley is on the independents here and there, very scarcely, but taking dates. I think there's a few people that could really draw a very big crowd, like Rob, but there's not many. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the world, maybe. I don't know. Right. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, GCW has seemed to be pulling people out of the woodwork, where it's like Scotty 2 Hotty, we got X-Pac, we got Jeff Jarrett back again. It's like it seems a lot that the independents have seen this ramp up of these legends coming back and helping to put over all of these young dudes, and show that they could still go, which is incredible. So, there are definitely a lot of incredible people that are out there that I would love to see do another match or God, there's so many to think of, but it's awesome to see these matches coming to fruition, and hopefully we get some of them in Canada.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I think especially now and the 2+ years that we've had of not being able to see wrestling live in the flesh, being a part of that atmosphere, shows like Greektown and also other promotions throwing those live shows again is really, really making us fall in love with wrestling all over again in this different way that we've not even really been able to experience just watching from a computer, watching from our home screen, not even being able to watch with our friends over the last little while, just being able to be in that room together to cheer for the good guy, to boo the bad guy, to see those amazing performers put their bodies on the line. We're going to see you probably take a rolling thunder with the chair stacked on top of you this weekend. And that's going to bring us so much joy that, that we have not had for the last little while. And I think with the independents being able to book bigger name guys just due to the fact that their contracts in different promotions are allowing them to hop around has been really great for the sport, for the art form, and just for our consumption of the stuff that you guys are putting out there.
Yeah, it's a kind of a perfect storm right now, isn't it? In the sense where, AEW's growth, which I think has really helped a mainstream awareness for pro wrestling, and made it a little more accessible and cool for everybody to get back into it. It's kind of coincided with the pandemic where you can't even, wrestling has hit such a different wave in these last 2 years that we've been really locked down, in such a way of speaking, that, you have so many different factors, the return factor just to live events in general, but then also the growth of pro wrestling. Whereas you say, it's like, it's almost like this newfound love that you get to get all over again. So, man, it's going to be a really special night on April 10th, as we kind of said, there's a couple of promotions doing some things again, but again, not anywhere near this level of Rob Van Dam and Ryerson. And, unfortunately, even just some less shows running in general right now. So, I hope this is the beginning of just some of the best independent wrestling we've seen in this city and maybe even this country in a long ever. Why not?
Yeah, I really hope so. I got 2 really quick questions for you that, going back to something that you mentioned. One, as Anthony said, you're probably going to be taking some crazy spots in this upcoming match. I guess a question for a hardcore wrestler that I've always wondered is, what's something that everybody may think is really hurts but actually doesn't, or is there something that people overlook and actually really hurts to do that people kind of don't even notice when it's in a match?
I think the best way to give you an idea of what it's like is that, right from something as simple as a kick or a punch to something as dangerous as light tubes or flaming tables. If it's done right, you should be taking care of the person you're in the ring with. And if it's done wrong, it doesn't have to be complicated to be super painful and stupid. So, it's almost more a gauge of the wrestler's ability than it is the objective weapon. You know what I mean? It's like you can work with somebody and you can get taken care of with light tubes, or you can be in the ring with, as they say, a crowbar and get waffled by, a lockup. You get an elbow in the eye. So, it's more a testament about the person you're in there with.
And then my other one, since this is a podcast about dream matches, and we talked about this match that you're having, what are some dream matches that we can quickly touch on that you have always dreamt about? Not necessarily like yourself and someone else, but just wrestlers that you're a big fan of that you wish you would have seen face off, or even if it actually did happen, that you wish you would have been there to see.
What are some of the big ones? I guess, growing up, everybody kind of wondered what would happen if Goldberg and Steve Austin got in the ring together. I think a lot of people want to know what would have happened if it was Steve Austin who got the ring with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18 or whenever that could have happened. Instead we got one of the greatest live matches or greatest matches in WrestleMania history with Rock and Austin live in Toronto. Some of the other ones, I feel like there was maybe some matches that Sting never got to have in WWE. I probably would have loved to have seen a late 2010 Sting or 2005 Sting in WWE. That could have been pretty cool if they gave him the right runway. And what else comes to mind?
But look at man. Look at what the man's doing now. He's diving out of crowds onto double stack table.
Yeah. It's a bit of a different time, isn't it? I hate to say that for a long time there was unfortunately, when you were done with WWE, whether it was 40 or whatever, you were just kind of done, like thrown by almost, to a certain extent. There just wasn't a lot of other opportunities for you. There wasn't even the Comic-Con business that there is today, let alone the thriving independent business or other television shows. So, it's kind of cool to see, we talked about the legends coming back. That's a testament to how many eyes, like look how big, like GCW is, almost hard to call it an indie to an extent. I mean, the viewership is huge. The money is big. They're touring nationally. I mean, It seemed only a matter of time if they wanted to tour internationally if they're not already scheduled. They've been to Japan, so it's a thriving time for pro wrestling right now. And I think it's nice to see guys who didn't get their due now, who may be getting some more than they did before. It's a nice time for the fans and the wrestlers alike.
So I guess I have one more question and we can continue to move on and you can get back to your busy day. I watched an interview where you talked about potentially unveiling a brand new Greektown title this weekend. Can you tell us a little bit about it without spoiling the surprise? And is there anything else in the show aside from you facing RVD that you are very excited for the fans to see this weekend?
Oh, well, those are two wonderful questions. Really, I'm glad to talk about both of those. And I'm the belt is one I'm glad you brought up because it's something that happened over a course of about a year during the pandemic. I got it in my mind that it was time, to, really celebrate the legacy of Greektown wrestling and create something unique and something really substantial that we can, really cherish. So I got in touch with Wildcat Belts, which is, the premier manufacturer of belts. They do like, I believe all WWE's, and they just do a phenomenal job with the craftsmanship. And so then I kind of kicked around designs for about a year back and forth, started off maybe a little too complicated and trying to make something, just over the top. And I think what I ended up being able to come down to was something that really honors the past, really honors the community, really honors the history of the promotion, and also comes together in a beautiful, really kind of exciting, stunning way. So I'm very excited for people to see it. And obviously having someone with the prestige of Santino Marella, I think it's a wonderful way to introduce the championship the right way, with that extra prestige as the word, I think, so happy to have Santino there. And looking at the rest of the card, it's, kind of bangers only, isn't it? It's like, the people that are on the show, I really think they're one of one, you know what I mean? I like to book and work with and be around people who are creating something that's never been seen before. And whether that be Jody Threat with taking on Lady Frost, I think not just from a woman's perspective, but a pro wrestling perspective. I mean, this is a match that most of the fans online, especially, I see talking about two young competitors who are, changing the game, I think, for women's wrestling, like really doing it in a really top-notch way, so I love all the aerial attacks that Lady Frost is coming up with. I love the attitude that Jody comes up with. To have Sunny back is going to be a wonderful feeling. I know a lot of the fans that were there for the farewell, were in tears. And, to be honest, we didn't even think at the time that AEW talent was even going to be allowed to do the Indies. So, a very real goodbye. So a pretty surreal return too. So, there's just so many things, definitely a few surprises that I know people are going to be excited about. Let me turn to you guys, as you guys say, as fans, what are some of the ones that jump off the board, some of the talent that jumps off the board? What are you looking forward to on April 10th?
Well, you mentioned Lady Frost and Jody Threat, and Frost has been doing some incredible stuff on Impact, which is awesome to see. And I actually saw Jody wrestle in a 5-way forever ago. It was years ago at a convention in Burlington, I think.
Nice.
And it was her and 4 other dudes, and she kicked ass. And so I'm really excited to see. I'm really excited to see her live again. I think that'll be awesome. And yeah, seeing Sunny. Is RJ going to be at the show?
RJ is scheduled to be at the show. Yes,
that'll be.
He's not too busy doing those segments for Tony Khan down in Florida.
Maybe he's going to big time us and we won't see him on the 10th. But fingers crossed.
Well, he's a baby face. He'll he'll find some excuse, but hopefully he'll be able. He doesn't want to disappoint his fans.
I'm excited to see all of the Greektown regulars again. The last time I was at the show, it was the end of Jock Sampson's legendary losing streak.
The December Greektown 15, December 2019.
Yeah. And it's going to be great to see Puff back in action. Hope Space Monkey will be there. And of course, seeing some talent that we've seen on TV like Serpentico in the flesh is going to be really awesome.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm happy to have you guys. Glad to hear you're with us for some very memorable moments in Greektown wrestling history.
As we come to the end of this, it's been awesome to talk to you, Channing. Every week, every episode, we love to leave our listeners with a match recommendation, a match that we think is worth sharing with people to watch and check out. Is there a match? It can be your favorite match. It can be a match that inspired you. It can be a match that happened recently that you think is awesome. Do you have a match that you want to recommend our listeners to go check out and watch that to enjoy?
Wow, that's a big responsibility in that moment. So what are some ideas that come to mind? Some of the first things that came to mind are the All Japan tag matches of 1992. That era there. There's just such a rabbit hole on YouTube you can go down, whether they be Kenta Kobashi, Doug Furnace, all these the legends of the day. Just having these insane variations of tag matches. Go on a little rabbit hole there. And you could also check out some Terry Funk. It's always a good idea to check out Terry Funk. Go find some of his death matches online, or again, some of his old tags with his brother, or it's really, to see the pageantry and the way that the Japanese fans celebrate the Funks is always a special thing. So, hey, you know what? Those are 2 good suggestions, and you can go subscribe to Greektown Wrestling and watch a ton of our past content and all the matches there available for free. And definitely look for the, we'll say a hot exclusive take here. Live stream might be a big thing April 10th. We might see a really exciting live stream for those not in the building because it will sell out. So we want to make sure people see what's going on around the world. And that seems like a good way to do it.
That's really, really exciting. And as you mentioned, go check out Greektown Wrestling on YouTube. Bunch of matches there. Follow Greektown Wrestling online. I'll let you do the spiel.
Yeah, thank you for the platform. I appreciate you guys having me. Get your tickets for RVD versus Channing Decker April 10th. It's on Eventbrite. And check out Greektown Wrestling on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Channing Decker. Check it out across the platforms, and make sure you're in the building for April 10th. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind kind of night.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you again for joining us and sparing your time for doing this podcast with us. Of course, as always, you can follow everything that we do here at Unknown Air by searching us up online at UE_films. You can check out myself on Twitter and Instagram at Barton_Minute. You can check out Mr. Anthony Hall
at Hall and Jokes on Instagram and Twitter.
And of course, you can follow the podcast on all podcast platforms. Come check out the video version on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter at BookItVincePod. Again, huge thank you to Chang Decker for joining us. We're really excited to come see the show on Sunday. And thank you very much for listening or watching. Go watch some wrestling. Keep being excellent.